and welcome to another episode of Soul Star Radio. I'm Jacquelene Close-Moore, and I've been away for a little while. I think I've been recharging my energy and, as an empath, dealing with the drain. I don't think that swamp has been drained. I think perhaps a few brain cells might have been, if you know what I mean. We've had an interesting old time, haven't we? And for empaths around the world, it's been really quite full on because as the world tips more to the right, we're considered lefties or libtards or other things like that. And I think the most important thing we can do, regardless of our politics, is really get down to, you know, what are you about? When we look at 2016, we're looking at the Year of the Monkey, and monkey martial arts style is very much about looking like the fool, coming from underneath, and then when monkey style martial arts kicks in, it moves like a blur, so much so that its opponent can be standing there watching in absolute shock. And that's what I wrote at the end of last year about what this year meant. When I look at next year, I'm actually quite excited because next year is the Fire Rooster, and Fire Rooster is all about that rising from your own ashes, and it's also the revolution. It can be the phoenix, but in order to rise from your own ashes, you have to kind of explode first, don't you? So when we look at the Year of the Fire Rooster, and we look at fire roosters out there in the public domain, they do tend to have a second rising. So here in Australia, we have three prominent fire roosters that I can mention. We have K. Rudd, otherwise known as Kevin Rudd. And most Australians know what happened there. He certainly rose, and then he floundered, and he was taken over, and then he rose again, only to combust. Then we have Tony Abbott, and who could ever forget him? It's certainly been an interesting energy. And when we look at Tony Abbott, he also has risen, and then he's combusted. And then he's threatening to rise again at the moment too. And we also have Peter Costello, who was a treasurer, and he was also the Deputy Prime Minister in Australia in the years of John Howard. And he came out screaming in the press back in July 2005 or 6, saying, "You promised me I would be Prime Minister? Oh, how could you do this to me?" Because Johnny didn't hand it over to Peter. So that kind of didn't go so well. So when roosters puff up their chest a bit too much, if that's what they're doing, it tends to explode a bit. So we may find some rather interesting times in 2017 as we deal with what we think is fair and what we don't think is fair, what isn't fair. But it's a really important thing that I've seen across Australia today, and this week, in fact, is a theme around our industry as psychics and how we see what's fair coverage in the media, how we see what is a gentle and genuine discourse as against it being perhaps quite bullying in some ways. And I think the most important thing worldwide that we can do right now is look at what is actually factual for us, and to look beyond perhaps our narrow views or how we like to read things and look for the facts at all times, because at the end of the day, it's about respecting each other and listening to each other. And if your friend or your neighbour is afraid about how things are, whether that's how things are for themselves, how that is for your country, how that is for your industry, or whatever it is, if you've got someone who has anxieties about where the future's going, maybe listen to those anxieties, whether that means that it's anxieties about them being a minority, whether that's anxieties about them perhaps feeling that their rights have been taken away in some way. You know, how can we make everyone feel included? How can we make everyone feel heard? Because at the end of the day, that's what's needed here, not glib, empty, smiling gestures that don't actually do anything. It's about how do we create change. And the best part about creating change is to actually be that change. So look at how you can do that. And I will leave that little short talk with a quote that I've always loved from Edmund Burke. And it says, "The problem with evil is not evil people. It's when good people do nothing." So it's really important in the climate that we're in today, tomorrow, next week, next decade, 100 years from now. Complacency and apathy are actually our enemies. They're not each other. So try not to be complacent or apathetic in what you're doing, and you'll find that awareness, willingness to see both sides of the coin, is what's going to help you get through. So if you've been feeling a lack of hope, for some people that's been the case over the last decade. For other people it's been over the last week. How about hearing each other's sides? And how about showing that compassion we all speak about? There you go. Okay, let's get into our first call, and I'll talk about Pluto and Capricorn after this call as well, because a lot of what's going on actually relates to it, particularly at this point in time. So I'll get onto that after I do this first call. We've got Susan. She's in Watertown in New York. Are you there, Susan?
Yes, I am. How are you?
I'm very good, and welcome to the show, and thank you so much for calling in. And can I get your date of birth, because that's how I start to read, because it unlocks things for me.
Yes, August 11th, 1958.
Brilliant. So with you, I do feel that it's all about, in your case, you're a lot of the times wanting social justice, you're wanting fairness, but I do feel here with you, you'll dig down to get to the very facts of things, and you'll keep digging and digging and digging, and people will say to you at times, why are you doing that? Why do you seem obsessed about that? And then it's when you actually bear the skeleton in the backyard that everyone goes, oh, that's why. So sometimes for you, it can be that you smell something's up. You'll have a very strong BS radar. In other words, the ability to see through people's, facade. And I do feel that for you, that sometimes can be a bit difficult because you'll see it before your friends do. So I would really see you as being kind of like the sentinel in the group, if that makes sense to you.
Yes.
Yeah. So now the question you wanted me to look at for you today.
I'm sorry?
The question you wanted me to look at for you today?
I would like to move into a new job in a new area, new town, new state.
Yes, absolutely understand. I do feel you're going to be able to have various mechanisms around you. I actually felt immediately a group of people around you, and it's like two people together that can help you with this, and one person that's not with those two people who also will help you in a different way. Two people are helping you with the ability to move as far as geographically and to accommodate you. I don't know who those two people are, but it's like this is what's coming in for me, for you. So those two people are helping you to actually make the physical move, and the other person is coming in and saying, hey, look, this is the person over here that I know that actually has work in that area you've moved to. So I do feel that move is coming. I'm not sure if that's 2 weeks away or 2 months away, or whether that's basically the beginning of the talks of this, but it does feel really, really positive. And the other thing as well is next year for you is all about what you're now wanting to build. So building a new environment around you. And I feel also here a lot of cooperation from someone else that's being very positive and is being very dedicated and focused on what they're doing. But it's like there's a lot of positivity going on here, even though I'm not sure that you actually are aware of any of what I'm saying so far at the moment. You're not aware of that yet, are you?
Not fully.
Not fully, okay. So to me, I feel like, as I said, I do feel like that's what's coming through. I do feel like you've been trying to make a new start this year already in 2016, but It's like this year has been stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. So as you start something, it stops, and then you have to start again, and there's an obstacle, and then forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards, and that's what it feels like it's been through the course of this year. And it just also feels that in the last couple of months, it's just sort of gotten a whole lot more difficult, a bit more stagnant, a bit more stuck. But I do feel, as I said, when I'm looking at next year, that's when things are starting to really lift off. But it's within the next 2 months that we really got that joy happening. And because we are in November already, we are looking at that next year. So we are looking at that January, if that makes sense to you.
That's what I'm ready for. I'm packing. I'm ready to move. I'm packed already. I'm ready to walk out the door.
Brilliant.
To wherever I go.
I think it's fantastic, and I do feel that you're going to have success at the end of the day with this. It's going to really drive you forward, and I would also see career change, so as if you're doing a different kind of work that's going to be coming up here, and that's how I'm seeing this going. And I do feel that it's just going to open up a whole lot more doors to you in so many ways, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Just what I would encourage you to do, because I do feel a lot of anxiety and fear around this. Does that make sense to you about the fear and anxiety, like the butterflies in the tummy?
Yes.
Yeah. So what I really want you to do is I really want you to breathe through this, really deep breaths, and just tell yourself it's okay because I'm moving. I'm going to feel the sun on my back warming my journey. And what I want you to do the next time sun comes out and you can stand in the window if it's cold or if it's warm outside, I just want you to actually drink the sun down through the top of your head, right through your body, and really feel in your tummy area, when you're taking a deep breath, feel it going right down into that belly of yours, and also allow that warmth to resonate and radiate around in your heart, and that's going to help you make a lot of these shifts a lot better. I do feel that once we get moving, though, that everything will start clicking into gear very quickly, and as I said, I've got 2 people together that are helping you with accommodation, and then another person who's on their own who's helping you with the work aspect. And it's like this is a networking type situation. So it's like friends of friends, and that's how I'm seeing this. So it's people you know connecting with other people who know those people. So I hope that really makes a lot of sense and gives you some comfort. You've certainly needed it. I do think you've sort of come down to the wire with things, but, sometimes we need to hit rock bottom in order to come back up again.
Yes, you've made perfect sense, and I thank you so much for this guidance.
You're absolutely welcome, Susan. I'll be sending some healing love and light your way to give you some oomph to get going, okay? Thanks for calling in, darling.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome, darling. Now, I just wanted to also, it's really interesting how when calls come in, they actually relate to what I'm talking about, and sometimes what I'm talking about obviously relates to calls. So what we had there, we're dealing with some fear and anxiety. So if you're in a middle of change, or you really don't like the change that's happening right now, hello, then, it's really important to take a deep breath. First of all, take a deep breath. And look, a lot of this New Age theory goes on about, hey, look, just get into your happy zone and be unaffected by this. You'll be fine. No, sorry. When the world goes to pot, we probably need to stop smoking. So it's really important to instead take a deep breath first. Yes, okay, get into the happy zone. Say, all right, well, here's the sun inside my soul. I'm going to breathe that in. I'm going to take a deep, relaxing breath and acknowledge how I'm feeling, acknowledge what's happening for me. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, right, what can I do to take charge in this situation? What can I do to make change? Who can I speak to that's positive and open, rather than feeling defeated? So it's really important to take that next step, because Pluto in Capricorn brings up our biggest fears. By the way, Pluto takes 248 years to travel around the zodiac. And when it does and it gets back around to Capricorn, well, what we get is revolution. And so if we remember the French Revolution, at all? Hi there. Hello, look at what we're looking at. So what happens is that people revolt because they don't want the same old anymore. Maybe they're frightened. Maybe there's a range of things. But in that fear, it can rise fear in other people. The most important thing we can understand at this point in time is each other. So different cultures, not what's different, what's the same, what can we celebrate, what can we meet on the middle ground with. And to that, I'd just like to say this part. I am white and I am privileged. I was not born rich. I live on the fringes of society in the name of my profession and my calling. But I am white and I am privileged. I can find Band-Aids in the supermarket that match my skin colour. Have a think about that. For a lot of years, if you want to take photographs of your family and you're a white person, well, they'd look really good. But if you weren't a white person, you could come up looking pretty strange. It's only been in recent years that that's changed. It used to be that only white men could vote. So the world is changing. And in that change, we can start to feel afraid, but it's really important to breathe into that and say, well, what can I do to make this a better place? What I won't do as a white privileged person who may or may not have wealth behind them, because it's not actually about money being the privilege, it's about society. What I can do as a white person is not make myself feel better by token gestures, by wearing a safety pin, by instead asking my fellow people of various cultures and colours and backgrounds, hey, are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you? Or do you want me to bug out? What is it you need? I'm here. And I'm just going to listen. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to listen. I'm going to sit there, I'm going to listen, and I'm going to actually try and understand you. That's the most important thing. And I think it's really important, if you're white and privileged, to just listen. Stop and listen. But then even with white people need to listen to white people. Cultures need to listen to cultures, and different sides of the track need to listen to different sides of the track. And Pluto and Capricorn does bring up our prejudices and our fears. So it's in time to actually embrace our fears and not to seek a hero. Not to seek a hero without, so outside of us, but instead to seek the hero within. Because the problem with our society is this celebrity culture of heroism, where we appoint one person the celebrity, usually because they're a celebrity. And in that, the problem with hero worship is that our heroes are never perfect. Our heroes are human. And when we realise they're human and not gods, that's when we sacrifice them as a society through scapegoating. And scapegoating, the actual word scapegoating, actually has a lot to do with Pluto and Capricorn at this point in time. So it's just really important not to fall into that trap. So that's something I just wanted to think about. Heavy, but kind of important, I think. I could be wrong. I'm welcome to hearing that too. In the meantime, let's get back to levity. Lightness of being. So how do we do that while this energy is really full on and a lot of people stirred up against each other? As I said, go back to that thing. Take a deep breath. It's never as bad or as good as you imagined. It is what it is. It's about acceptance, and it's about looking at the situation and saying, how can I make it better? So why not try that today? So that's that part I'm going to leave with you. In the meantime, let's go to another call. We've got Leslyn in Charlotte, North Carolina. Are you there, Leslyn?
Yes.
Hello, and thank you so much for your call, darling. I hope that you're having a brilliant evening. It's Australia. It's like 12:30 in the afternoon here, but you've got the evening there. If I can grab your date of birth, I can do a reading for you.
August 30th, 1986.
Brilliant. So you're very much quite an amazing energy there, because you're very nurturing and mothering, but you also have to choose when you speak, because sometimes people are quite open to you and other times you'll find it's like, hang on, who turned switch the lights off, and why are there cockroaches creaking and crickets going? So it's really important for you to do the things that you really believe in and feel strong about, and that is how you get your best energy going. When you don't feel that you believe in what you're talking about, you'll find your energy just tends to shut down. So it's really important for you to work on being around people and situations that actually build your energy rather than reduce it, because it's like you can lose enthusiasm fairly quickly if we're not careful, if that makes sense to you.
Yes.
Yeah, so we've just got to work on your confidence, darling. I'd really love it if we could have one of those walk-in freezers that no one can hear inside of, and you can just walk inside and roar. I kind of want you to make more noise in your life, but it's sort of like it's a bit difficult for you sometimes to feel that you can do that. And I do feel that over the next few years, you're actually going to develop a lot of that, even though that's sort of been sitting latent. I do think that when you know someone, if they're speaking things that are quite challenging for you, you can certainly tell them what you think. But, you know, this is the ability to just carry yourself in a lot more situations that I'm talking about, still to come out in you. It's like you haven't really brought that out yet. Was there a question you wanted me to look at for you today, darling?
Yes, career.
To me, I feel like at the moment what I'm getting here is we have to stop, look and listen and take our time. Don't race into anything or into any judgments. I do feel that there's a feeling here of not getting where you wanted to go, and it's almost like something stopped here. Can I ask, are you working at the moment? Because it just feels like everything's stopped.
Yeah, like I'm looking for like a job. Like I have something that I do want to do, like something like a career that I want to like go into, but I haven't started yet, and I was just wondering if that's like the right path for me.
To me, I feel the thing is it's going to be really important to develop your ability to speak up and to have your voice. That's the most important thing in developing your confidence in your case. And then I do feel that you'll be able to drive ahead with career in any direction you choose to. It's just we haven't accessed that full power of yours yet. It's like you hold back a lot of the times. And I do think that once you start that new work in that new field, which I do feel you'll get, and I keep getting told March for some reason, I do feel that that's when you'll start developing this voice. And once you get into that power of yours, well, good luck anyone trying to hold you back, sweetie, because you're just going to keep, rolling forward with that. But at the moment, we have to kind of take a pause, take a breath, and it's like looking into the situation a little bit more to find out more answers. So to me, whether there's some aspect of this question that you're needing to look into more at the moment. So whether there's more resources you're needing or whether it's more information you're needing at the moment to actually get where you're wanting to go. So this may even be down to having to whether it's looking at another course or whether it's talking to someone in the field that you're in that's going to help you. But to me, I see a mentor coming in that's going to help you with a lot of this. And needing to be open to their view on it, which will be very challenging because it's like they're going to be telling you things that they can see will help you, they can see will drive your career ahead, but which you hadn't thought of before and which are challenging to you. But sometimes we need to throw out some of the old in order to bring in the new, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you know, like, what area the career will be in, or the mentor?
Okay, can I just ask what industry you are looking at going to?
I would like to go into like the beauty industry, like esthetician, like skincare.
Yeah, I think the thing is, I really like the idea of you eventually running your own beauty business, in fact, but we need an element there of beautification and creativity with this, because that then keeps you interested. So it can't just be, like the waxing and attaching eyelashes to people. This, I would really take in, doing glamour makeups, doing wedding makeups, doing these sorts of things as well, because that will help you stay interested, and it will give you a variety of work, and you really need that. That's how I would see this as, and I do feel you'd be very successful at that once you get going. And what I would do is I would start with the very mundane types of trainings and things like that actually get you in the door first, because I do feel, as I said, you're going to absolutely have opportunities here, and I do see a mentor there for you that's going to be in the industry already. Strangely enough, they're not actually female, they're male. It's like, what? But it's an older male that's actually mentoring you that's actually going to be really good. So they may not necessarily be at all hands-on in working in the industry at all, but it's like they're a really good mentor. So I do feel you're going to have opportunity here absolutely to develop this. We just need to keep looking at how we can drive you forward. So I really want you to look at, when you do get this work, what is it that's going to look good on my resume here? What's going to build my experience and my credibility? And I do feel you'll absolutely go for it, because there needs to be an element of creativity here. There absolutely must be, but I do feel it's in your natural leaning to run a business at some point in the future, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And I do feel you'll be very successful with that once you get going. Next year, by the way, for you is actually a 3-year, and because your day of birth is 30, which comes down to 3, we've certainly got a lot going on there with that expansion stuff. So I would absolutely jump onto it, and I do feel you'll have opportunities very soon, and I don't think it's going to be a case of months and months and months. It may be 2 months at the most before you start getting opportunities here. So I wish you the best with that. Thank you so much for your call.
Thank you. I have another question.
And thank you so much for your call there, Leslyn, and thank you for listening to Soulstar Radio. We'll be back same bat time, same bat channel next week. Bye!